not really sure, and I wouldn't want to put that pressure on him. Obviously, like I said, he's had a tough time, and whenever players go through these periods, the important thing is not to sort of try and put any, sort of firm deadlines or any firm sort of statements around it. I mean, Bentancur went through it, it overlapped 2 seasons, but these things happen, and we've got Cess going through it. So all you got to do is just help them along the way, support them, and give them sort of as much guidance as you can, and then put them in the hands of the people who know best, and just see what the outcomes are.
It was a lovely finish from Timo Werner last week. Good finishes from everyone, but he's had quite an impact already. It seems to be quite well known that the club have an option to sign him. From what you've seen from him so far, would you be happy if the club exercised that?
Don't think it's the time for those kind of decisions, and I don't think, again, that would be fair on Timo for me to. When we signed Timo, whenever I've signed a player on loan, I say to them at the outset, I treat them like I do everyone else, that they'll be here for the long term, and then if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen, because even the ones who you hope are here for the long term sometimes aren't. But Timo's come in really, and really contributed to us from the first day. He's had to. It's been important for us, as I said, when we signed him at the time. We were really short in that front third, and if you think about, obviously when Sonny was away, but then we lost Richie. If we didn't sign Timo at that time, we would have had some real gaps. And like I said, I think then the burden on guys like Brennan and Kulusevski would have been even greater. And I think all those the guys in the front half have handled that really well. And Timo's done well, but the time for those kind of discussions are down the line for us and for me.
Just finally, a year in football is a long time. This time last year was when your predecessor left, and we had what happened towards the end of the season. Neil came in. First of all, I know you don't like talking about things that previous managers have said, but he did accuse the squad of being selfish. Have you ever had anything like that come up during your time here? And can you give us a bit of an indication of the kind of things you had to deal with when you first came in?
Yeah, no, I don't. Like I said, I don't think that's fair for me to comment on anything that another manager has gone through, because then that would be like another manager commenting on my experience. 12 months ago, I was at Celtic, mate, trying to win a treble. That's where my thoughts were, and that's where my focus was, and it was really important for the football club and for me that in that year that we put all our efforts in that. I was so far removed from Tottenham or the Premier League at the time that for me to sort of understand why or the reasons behind circumstances that occurred is just, like I said, it's not right, and I wouldn't be fair, and I'd hate it if anyone did it with me. But in terms of my experience since I've got here, it's been the same experience I've had at every other football club, mate. It's about coming in and judging everything on its merits, and changing the environment, see how people adapt, see where the gaps are, see where I could sort of help. No different from any other football club I've been in, and you understand that most of the time when you get appointed because there needs to be change, and sometimes it's hard to accept that or embrace change, but when you're new, like me, coming in, I think it's easier for me to kind of instigate those things, and that's what I've focused on since I've got here. I didn't need to look into the past or what happened last year or the year before, the last 10 or 15 years. All I needed to see was from the day I started how people sort of evolved in the environment I set.
Cool. Jagusin was known as the bodyguard, apparently, in general. Does he have a nickname here? What do you call him?
I call him Radu, mate. What do you think? I've got no idea, mate. No idea. Nicknames are not in my brief.
What qualities did he have that marked him out above any other candidates that you guys looked at for that position?
Look, in terms of, profile, he's a young man that's already played significant minutes, which I think helps us when we're recruiting, because we still, we feel like we're a squad that needs to grow and develop. So you're looking at that younger demographic, but at the same time, you're looking for guys who've played football. I've liked his trajectory in that, he's kind of played at clubs where he's had to fight for everything, and you know, the characteristics he has around his defending and his defensive principles were really strong. Obviously, you know, playing in the Serie A, you get tested every week, and there was been growth in him from his start, which again is something I look for. And then he really wanted to come here, mate. That's, you know, I don't disregard that. You know, when players really have a desire, strong desire to join our football club, they've obviously thought about it and have evidence to suggest to them that this is the right move for them. And, you know, he's got all those attributes, but, you know, plenty of room for growth as well. And, you know, from the moment he's arrived, he's taken every opportunity to try and do that with himself. You know, he works really closely with Wellesley, in the defensive unit, the other defenders, to understand, you know, the principles of our game. And, you know, I think that's always important to me. You know, are they coachable? Do they want to improve? You can see evidence of that usually from where they've come from. And I thought he had all those attributes.
He's getting a chance now, obviously, because of an injury. You have a pair here who look really good together. You would have known that coming in, but I'm guessing that you do really expect him to put some pressure on those two and compete for a place with them, I think.
Well, he has been already, but that doesn't change irrespective. I don't think you need any more evidence than this year that you can't do with just two centre-backs, no matter how good they are. You know, we've been challenged in that space. So we need players ready to play and contribute and push each other. And, you know, it's not like even when he wasn't here that Mickey and Romero were comfortable. They were pushing themselves. They've improved immensely, both of them, from day one. So they don't need any other competition. The competition is within themselves. Like I said, I look for people who just want to be the best they can be every day, irrespective of the circumstances. I don't want to be prodding them every day. I don't want to be trying to create artificial scenarios for them to push themselves. I want them to come in here every day, push themselves, because that's who they are. And I think we've got that with the majority of this group.
Lastly, how do you feel in the weeks when all these other teams are playing in Europe? Do you miss that experience? How much drive you, doesn't it?
I do very much, mate. Yes, and yes, it does drive me.
John? You mentioned that you felt you didn't need to look into the past. Do you feel that people do look at the past too much? I mean, you must have Spursy thrown at you lots of times.
At me?
Well, not you.
But yeah, look, but I think that's okay. I mean, but that's an external viewpoint. Like I said, it doesn't help me in sort of, and again, that's my way of kind of thinking my way through the process of, you know, going into a new environment and then trying to turn it into something I believe can be successful. I've never found it too useful. So I'll give you an example. What do you reckon the first thing that happened when I was appointed? It was that I got about 1 million different opinions on what needs to change here. And if I put them on a spreadsheet, I would have probably had to get rid of all the players, all the staff, balanced by I should keep all the players and keep all the staff, because just about everyone was great or not great, depending on your viewpoint. So I've always felt, and it's not like people start with a clean slate, because that doesn't exist either. Everyone has a history, but you kind of got to look beyond, you know, the obvious. The obvious was that the club wanted change. I keep talking about that word change, but very few people are actually willing to commit to change, real change. Real change means, you know, people, habits, behaviours, like making strong decisions around those things, not just a new person comes in, a new manager comes in and everything's going to be all right. It doesn't work that way.
How long did it take you to sift through all that and then decide how much change?
Well, it's an ongoing process, but usually, you know, within the first sort of month, 6 weeks, you get a pretty good indication as to the direction and how strong I need to be. The reality is sometimes you can't make the changes that you want to anyway, because you know, there are people committed to the club that you can't change. So you have to then find a way to work through that process. So like I said, it's ongoing all the time, but usually, you know, for me, it's always, you know, that sort of first month I kind of keep my mouth shut and just look and listen and trying to breathe in whatever information I can and kind of make my assessments from there.
also looking at the club's past, isn't it?
Well, I want Spurs supporters in the stand, mate. I don't want just anybody in there. You know, I want people who are passionate about the football club, and you know, I want you know the stadium to reflect you know that feeling of attachment that they have. So, but as I said last week, the supporters and have a voice, so they're allowed to use that to you know express how they feel. They can do that in the stadium. They can do it in other avenues. And as I've always said, I'm never going to dictate you know how they should behave or what they should adhere to. That's for them.
It does seem, and don't just mean Tottenham, it just would seem that the simplest thing for a club is to get in tourists who are willing to pay money. The plastic fans who would pay the most.
See that's really harsh, yeah. Because I'll tell you why. Because I'm probably plastic and touristy because I was coming from the other side of the world, really passionate about football, and if I could get access to see a Premier League game, that was the world to me. So to label people plastic or tourists, I don't think that's fair. Just because people live on the other side of the world, this football club has supporters all over the world, have supporters all over the UK that don't always get access to the games of people who live here. And I think we should always have the ability to accommodate them and give them that feeling of, you know, it doesn't make them any less passionate. I think it's really disrespectful to call fans who are willing to go to the expense of coming halfway around the world. You don't know how passionate they are about their football club. Maybe they've only started supporting it in the last 2 years. Who knows? I don't know. But that doesn't diminish who they are, I don't think.
It's a balancing act, isn't it?
Well, it's always it's a balancing act only if your end means isn't about growing your football club, and I'm talking about in every aspect, you know, your fan base. It's why we do tours around the world, is to take this team to places in the world where I know people are passionate. You know, I know there are passionate Spurs supporters in Australia, just as passionate as they are here. You know, they don't live here. They can't come to the games. They can't buy a season ticket. In fact, I've had friends in Australia who do buy season tickets and can only get here a couple of times a year because that's how passionate they are. So it's as long as your overall objective is to grow your football club, then I think you'll find the balance you need.
Okay, Dom?
You said just there that it's become kind of obvious throughout this season that you can't function a club this big with two centre-backs. Signed Radu, which has eased that a little bit, but does that position remain sort of a priority to address in the summer? Is it, you know, three isn't that different to two, is it?
Well, it's a little bit different. It's one more. But if you're saying is it an area we can strengthen, yeah, it's an area we will look at. But you know, with all these things, like I said, it's about trying to strengthen the group as much as anything else. And you know, if you think about when I first arrived, I think we had maybe 6, 7 centre backs at the club. So it's not just numbers. It's more about sort of the ability of those players to play the football we want, you know, and kind of fit into what we're trying to build here. So, you know, I think it is an area of the park we will look to strengthen, but I think we'll look to strengthen all areas of the park for, you know, come the end of the season. But again, that's planning that's already underway and other people in charge of at the moment.
Tom, anything?
I was going to ask about, well, we often see managers when they come into a team, and then a couple of years down the line, maybe there's only sort of 4 or 5 players who kind of follow that manager all the way through. When we look at your team now, it feels like quite a lot of them are your sort of player. Have you been surprised by how many of them have taken you that route?
Not, no, not really. I struggle with those questions only because like I say, I don't have any sort of preconceived sort of targets before I take the role, because you don't know until you sort of come. So, look, I knew I was working with some very, very good footballers. Are my ideas that extreme that you know, people struggle with them. I don't think so. I think there's some basic fundamentals that most players, I think, respond to in the way we play. But then it's about, like I said, you know, suitability of the environment, the way we train, you know, a lot of sort of personality, characteristics of the individuals. But I've been really pleased with kind of the core group. Like I said, not just the way they've adapted, but the way they've grown during the year. You know, when I look at the players, I mean, obviously the ones we've brought in have been great. They've contributed and fit in really well. But the guys, you know, that I've inherited and have played most of the season, I've seen real growth in them, which is probably the key thing for me. That, you know, they've really kind of improved as players and also, you know, adapted to the environment really well, which kind of hopefully fast tracks the whole process, because again, if I had fewer numbers, it would mean it would probably take a bit longer. But the fact that we've had a core group that have really taken to it, and the ones we brought in have all really been successful in that, it's helped the process.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Kev.
you.
Thank you.